So I've been about 8 weeks into syndromal, well, exactly 8 weeks into remission from bipolar disorder. Today, I mostly want to talk about the bigger challenges with having a sick identity for 21 years, probably since my first diagnosis. And even before that, I had kind of prodromal bipolar disorder where throughout my teen years I didn't have the full-blown episodes, but you could see looking back that it was coming. So it's kind of like having a sub-threshold bipolar disorder. So I don't know what it's like to live without the illness. Some people, they have an illness like they develop a metabolic illness, or maybe they develop cancer, and that's very traumatic, but it's just a small portion of their life. It's not their entire life. When you've had your entire life with a chronic illness, that illness has defined who you are as a person. It has dramatically altered the trajectory that your life took. And I especially found myself looking back in my college days when I had the first diagnosis. When I do my deep introspection, I keep going to that point in my mind. So one of the first issues I have moving on from that sick identity in syndromal remission is looking back and wondering how the trajectory of your life might have been different. If I wasn't sick in my teen years, but if I wasn't sick when I was coming of age and going to college and going out on my own, how would my life trajectory have changed? How would my social and professional life been very different? And it's easy to idealize that and think about how great your life was, but you don't really know. You can't really go back into the past. But that's kind of one of the first issues, is having that deep, I don't know what the word is, retrospection of what your life could have been like if you would have figured this out 20 years ago. One of the second issues is trying to navigate not being ill. One of the, your life doesn't change instantly once you go into syndromal remission. It's more a series of small steps where little things happen. You take care of the basic stuff first. I've been a lot more focused on cleaning and routine and maintenance of things. I will go through and have a regular day where I clean my kitchen at roughly the same time every week. I'll have a day where I clean my bathroom on a particular day. I'll have a laundry day. I'll have a day where I clean my tool room. And I'll have, days where I perform maintenance on something. I'm a lot more concerned with making sure that every tool I have, whether it be a dehumidifier or a lawnmower, are properly maintained. Whereas before, a lot of this stuff would just kind of, like cleanliness and such, would fall by the wayside because I wouldn't be able to maintain any sort of routine. The third issue is the void that remission leaves in your life. When your entire identity is based around managing your illness, keeping yourself from going too far when you're in an up mood, keeping yourself from going too low when you're in a down mood. That's probably 90% of your focus, is just trying to keep yourself well enough to function as a human being. And I can see now just how much of my effort was wasted on just managing my illness. And so you have all this extra bandwidth, but you don't really know what to do with it. You feel like you should be doing all these great and amazing things because, wow, I have all this extra capacity. I have this extra social capacity, physical capacity, mental capacity, and yet that doesn't really flesh out. And unfortunately, with all of this, there's no real guidebook. I kind of tried to find like resources as to people who have had, say, a metabolic illness for 20 years and then they were cured. And so there aren't a lot of aftercare resources out there for people who are trying to adapt from a sick life to a healthy life. It's just weird because you look at your life and you see the life of a sick person all around you. Like everything you've done for 20 years is based on a different person. Basically, I have to try to build that life piece by piece, but there's no handbook. So those are kind of the struggles I've been dealing with. And I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about that, because I would much rather be in remission than be sick. But it does create a new paradigm that has to be resolved over time. And I would expect that this would take probably a couple years to fully resolve